Hey, hi, hello. We're going to build this 50, 30, 20 budget template from scratch. I say scratch because I have already created like a starter template that just has the basic setup of the month. So the colors, the merge cells, and all that stuff, so that we can just get right into the formulas and, all the fun little bits. So to get this starter template so that we can start building this, you have to go into the description of this video and you click on this link that says starter template, and it's gonna load. Yeah, in order to make it your own so that you can edit and stuff, you just have to go on the file and make a copy, and now you can rename it to whatever you want. So if it's your official 50 30 20 budget, you just write 50 30 20, but because I've got too many of them because I was making them, I'm gonna say 50 30 20 tutorial. Okay, and then make a copy. And once this loads, this becomes your official copy to edit and all that stuff. And as you can see, you are done with step 1. So you can click that off and you can see that we have a nice little pie chart that's going to load every time we do a step. Great. So let's get into it. Step 1, transactions. So we already have 3 pages set up. We have the dashboard, the transactions, and the summary. So the first step we're going to do is the transaction step, which is this one. And as you can see, almost everything is set up. We have our budget here. This is where you will set your budget. So the specific budget item will be like house, emergency savings, eating out, subscriptions. You get the idea. And then the amount you're budgeting for. So let's say for house, things like rent, cleaning supplies, and the likes. Let's keep that at, I don't know, right? And then emergency, keep that here, and eating out we will do here. I think this is a nice little starting. You can finish off the numbers if you want, but as a start out to see how this template will work, I think these 3 are fine. Right. Okay. So the first thing on our to do on our transactions is drop down options. So there are 2 ways to do drop down options. There's actually inputting the options from the drop down, and there's also creating a drop down from a range, right? So the first one we're going to do here is inputting them ourselves, the value of the drop downs ourselves. So we go to data, right? And then we go to data validation, and then we add a rule. So you need to make sure that you are in the cell where you want the drop down to appear, right? And I want it to go from C3 until C100 because I think that's a decent number of budget items for me. But if you need more or less, you can just change that 100 number to whatever suits you, right? So the criteria is drop down, which is correct. That's what we're working with. And the options that we're going to have, since this is a needs, wants, savings planner, we're going to have needs, wants, savings, right? And also just income, because we need to start from somewhere, right? And when it comes to savings, right, there's 2 transactions that you do with savings, that you can do with savings. So you can put money into your savings and you can also take money out of your savings. So we need to be able to differentiate when we're doing one or the other. So we will have savings in and savings out. So savings in is when you're putting money into your savings, and then savings out is when you're taking money out of your savings, right? So now it comes to the aesthetics of everything. You can move around the order of things. So needs, wants, and I want income to be on top. So you just go to these 6 dots and you just drag that, and needs, wants, savings in, savings out. Great. So this is how this order is the order of the drop down options. And then we can pick the colors. So for income, I want green because green means money, I think. Needs, I'm going to put it at red to let me know that this is important. And wants, I'll put it at purple because it's pretty. Savings in, so putting money into my savings, I will put it as blue, water, saving, I don't know. and then savings out, because savings out, taking money out of my savings now becomes money that I can use. So it goes into like my income bucket, right? But it's not like new income, but it is money that I can use. So I'm just going to give it the same color as income, just, for that visual reminder. So I do not like this pill thing personally. You can keep it if you want, but if you don't want it, you just click on advanced options, and then you can choose between arrow, and it looks like that, and plain text, and it'll look like that. I like having the arrows so that I know that drop downs go here. It just, I don't know, makes more sense to me. So this is the rule that I have created for column C. There is also the same category column, but for column G, right? So I don't want to make a whole separate rule for this. It's going to be the same options. So it makes more sense to just make it like this rule applies to column C and column G. So to do that, you just add a comma, right? And then you say transactions, that's the name of the sheet, exclamation mark, G starting from 3 until G, all of it. So when you want to select the entire column, you don't put a number at the end. You just leave it open-ended. And that's how to know that, oh, we're just going to keep count of this forever, right? And then we can press done. You can see it applies to here, put income, perfect. And here, perfect, right? I can backspace when you want to remove that. Cool. So house is actually a need. Emergency is savings in. I'm putting money into my savings. And then eating out is a want, right? So that's how these drop downs work when you're inputting the value yourself, right? Okay, so that's one type of drop down. Another type of drop down that we can do is drop down from a range. So for budget items, I don't want to personally be typing in every single budget item. I prefer to just scroll down and pick it because I've already written my budget items here, right? And it just makes the filter and SUMIFS, all those other formulas easy to use if we have that uniformity. Okay, so on budget item where I want the drop down to be, I go there, which is H3, column H, and I say data validation, and then add rule, right? So I wanted to go to all of H because again, this is the transactions section. So I'm just going to keep putting in data all the time. So I just need it to be open-ended. Okay, so H. And criteria is drop down. Yes, but drop down from a range. So we have to select this one. Cool. Now we have to select the range that we want to pick from. So you press on here where it says select data range, press on there, and then you select in here. Make sure that the cursor is blinking in there. Otherwise you end up writing on the sheet. So select a data range. I want it to start from A3, and then you go back here. Make sure the cursor is blinking until A100, because I think that's how many budget items I will personally have. And then I press OK. There we go. So now you can see that all of those that are written on the A column now appear as options for my drop down in the H column. So if I'm to add something else, let's say a work budget, right? And I press OK, it will end up showing as an option in here. So if I press OK, you can see work is right there. Cool. Again, I test this pill thing. I don't know why that is the default. So I have to go to advanced options and select arrow. And then I'm not going to do color things because there's just too many colors. It's just easy to just see it as words. And yeah, and then I can press done. Cool. And that's how you do drop down from a range. And now you can pick whatever it is. So now that we've done the two types of drop down options, we can go to our to do and we can check that off. Hooray. Next thing on our to do list is the valid date picker. So in order to be able to classify everything, we're just going to change this to 90 so we can see everything. 75 if your eyesight is even better. Okay, you can always change that zoom. But in order to classify everything into the specific month, January, February, March, we need a valid date. You can't just put any date however you want to. So again, that uniformity makes the whole planner work. So I've already done the valid date picker, right? So that's when you click here in the month column and you select the day that the transaction happens. It will just show the month, right? And I'm just going to show you how to do that. If you want to add it on any other planner, you just go to data validation, and then add a rule in that column, and then you can just say the criteria is valid date. And once you do that, you press done, just this instance, and for now, right? And then see, works out just like that. Yeah, so that's already done everywhere, so you don't need to really do that. I just wanted to show you so you know how to do that, and we can tick that off. Assign number to month for filtering, right? So in order for us to filter again for the specific month, we need to assign a number to each month's transactions so that we can just filter for that number. So in order to assign a number to a specific month, we're going to use this formula. So equals month and the column your months are in. So until if, right? Voila, it picks the number 1 because that is January, right? And we want this to apply to all of them, right? So in order to do that, we say equals array formula. So it runs down the whole column, month. Voila, it picks all of them. But we're going to get an error when we come here on the empty months. As you can see, it's empty, but it's saying December, right? And that could just mess up like when we are looking at our dashboard and stuff. Like there's nothing happening here, so we don't want these numbers accidentally messing up our calculations. So what we're going to need to do is say if, right, gonna put an if statement, if where the column where the month is, so if 3 to if is not, when you put those triangles together like this, it means is not. So if that a cell in that column is not empty, you just put 2 quotation marks with nothing in there to say empty, then give me the number of the month. And then you go after that. So right now we've said if that column, a cell in that column is not empty, give me the number of that month. But if it is empty, that's what that comma is saying, give me nothing. And we put that blank and we say okay. And now when we scroll down, see, when it's empty, this is empty. When we pick something else, it's going to show a number. Great, that's working great. And that is how we assign a number to the month. If you don't want to see these boring numbers, you can just right click and hide column. There we go. Looks pretty again. And that's all the setup we have to do for transactions. Yay. Next, we're working on our dashboard, right? So the first thing we're going to do is fetch monthly income. Let's give it something to fetch for. So let's say $5,000 is my income. Let's say this is my needs and it's house. Let's say this is my wants and it is eating out. Let's say this is my savings in and that is emergency savings, and savings out, and that is where my, let's just say other. Okay, I'm taking my savings out so I can spend it on something else. Okay, so now we actually have some things to call to our dashboard. So now we can go to dashboard. So the first thing we say we're going to do is fetch our income, which is very, very, very simple. What we want to do is that we want to add every value in transactions, right, that has the category income and happens in the month of January. That's why it's SUMIFS, because we have two conditions that we want met. So you go to dashboard, right, and say remove the x's, say equals SUMIFS, right? When it's a SUMIFS, like you want more than one condition, you have to start with the column you're going to be adding. Okay, so the column I'm going to be adding in this case, where my amounts are, is column I in transactions. So then I select that, right, until all of it. So SUMIFS I3 to I all of it. I want you to sum that if this column, right, transactions E3 to all of it, is equals to 1. 1 is for January. And if the category, so this column, right, to G all of it, is, well, says income. Since it's a word, we have to put it in quotations. Right, so once again, this formula just says, I want you to add the amounts if E is 1, meaning it's January, and transactions say income in this category. Great. And we press enter. We go back. Voila, 5,000. 5,000 what? Watermelons? Wheelbarrows? I used to hate when math teachers did that. Okay, 5,000. So now we want to add a currency, and we just say format as currency, right? If you want to change the currency, if you're not using dollars, you just go to format, number, and then custom currency, and you can pick whichever currency applies to you. Okay, so $5,000, and that's it. Every time we add something income, let's see if it's working. So let's go to transactions, and let's change this to income. So our income should be 6,200 now. Go back, 6,200. Fantastic. Okay, let's put it back, and that is how we fetch our income. So we can tick that off. Now we're gonna set up our fixed costs and our dashboard. Okay, so our fixed costs are a recurring monthly cost. So everything you have to pay each month without fail on a specific date. So I'm gonna just have two examples. So Netflix and rent. That's all the person needs, right? So Netflix, let's say it's $9. Due date is due on the 6th of each month, and paid or not paid. So for the paid or not paid, I want there to be a checkbox so that when I pay for it, I just check like, yep, I pay for this. And if I haven't paid for it, it's just there as a glaring empty box that I need to check. All right, so to add checkboxes, you just go to data validation, and you add a rule, right? I want it to apply until F100, because I don't think I'll have more fixed costs than that, hopefully. Criteria, and then you just go down to the bottom, checkbox. Perfect. And done. And your checkbox works. Yay. Okay, rent, let's say it's 1,200, and it's due on the 30th of each month. Fantastic. Yeah, so I think we can check those off. Okay, now we're in budget tracker, the budget tracker section of this whole planner, right? So the item here, I wanted to fetch the item because I don't ever want to be typing here. I want everything to just automatically update when I'm doing transactions and stuff. So here I want to be able to, I can just show you. So as we can see from what we're trying to create for the budget tracker, you want to be able to pick anything. So let's say I pick other, and we wanted to be able to show me what I had budgeted for that, if I've spent more than my budget, and what category it is, right? So I can tell from other, I haven't set a budget, but I'm already over it because I didn't set a budget, and the category is wants, right? If I go to groceries, my budget was 1,000, I spent $1,020, and it's a need. And when I'm over budget, you can see that it highlights red. Okay, so let's put it back to house. Perfect. And let's make it happen in our tutorial, right? So the item I want to track, I'm going to get that as a drop down from a range, specifically the range that we find in our transactions. We have already written all our budget items. So we add a rule in data validation, we add a rule and we say we want to apply to range C25, which is this cell, until C29. So C25 until, that's what that means, C29. Great. The criteria, I do want it to be drop down, but drop down from a range. Great. So I go here and I'm going to select a range, which is in transactions. And I want it to be A3 until A100. Okay. Voila. Go back to dashboard. And now we have those options. And you know what I'm about to do? Go to advanced options and change that chip to arrow because I do not like that chip. Why is that the default? And then done. So now when I click here, I'm able to pick things, right? So now I want it so that when I pick house, it shows me the budget, how much I've spent, and the category, right? So let's start with, what did I written on my to-do? Drop down list, we've done that. Fetch budget amount. Okay. So by fetch, I mean filter. I wanted to go through that whole list of our budget. So in transactions, I wanted to go through all of this and filter for this amount that is connected to house. So go back to dashboard and I want to say equals, right? Because the formula, we start with equals. I want you to filter, right? What do I want it to filter? I want it to filter the amounts, right, that we find in transactions sheet to be 100, right? What criteria do I want you to filter using? I want you to make sure that you return this amount when the item here, right, matches that equal sign the item here, and press enter, and there we go, it returns that, right? So now we just have to do some error catching, right? What do I want it to do when it's empty? If, right, let me put another bracket, if C25 is not empty, I want you to filter the transactions budget amount for the value in transactions budget item that matches the item I have picked in budget tracker, right? That's what all of this is saying. But if it is empty, I want you to return 0, right? We do that. Yeah, and it still works. Let's see if it works for when it's empty. It returns 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Perfect. Instead of 0, I would prefer if it actually returned this dash. So if you're going to put a number, you just put the number, but if you're going to put a word or this dash, you have to put it in quotation marks. So if we do that, press enter, and do this, see when it's empty, it returns that. Great. So now I wanted to return when something is spent, like how much I've spent on a specific budget item, right? So this is a SUMIFS thing. So I want you to sum if I've spent money and house and if it's January, because that's what we're tracking, the January, right? So equals SUMIFS, because there's more than one criteria. And since there's more than one criteria, we have to start with the amount we want returned. So SUMIFS transactions I to all of I. If the budget item here to all of it, they have to be the same size, right? This to all of it is the same as C25, and if this number to E all of it, to E all of it, returns as 1 for January. There we go. And now it shows me how much I have spent. Great. What about when it's empty? You have to cache those errors. So always remember to cache the errors first before you move on. So if bracket C25 is not empty, I want you to sum the amounts and transactions I if the the budget item in transactions H is the same as the item I've selected here, and the month is January, right? That's what that formula is saying. But if it is, I want you to return that dash. Okay, and now we can duplicate that everywhere. Okay, now with category, we're just filtering for the category that relates to the budget item, right? We're just going to say equals filter. What are we filtering? Let's go to transactions, filter the C category, right? When the A column is equal to C25. Perfect. And needs. Right. Oh, I have a few errors that I also need to address. Okay. So as you can see, when we drag it down, you can now see that the formula changes in terms of where the transaction starts. In the first one on the budget, transaction starts at B3 until B100. But then when we go here, it starts at B4 until B101. We don't want that. We want it to stay the same because we want it to count the same number, we want it to start at the same place each time at the column, right? So in order to do that, we need to put them $signs everywhere. So we don't want the column to change, we don't want the row to change. Or is it we don't want the row to change, we don't want the column to change. I will double check. There, and there, right? I do, however, want the C25 to change with C26, C27, etc. So we're going to leave that to be the same and then press OK, right? Press enter. And now we can move that all down. Here we do the same thing. Where we don't want the starting point or the end point to change, we put those $signs. When there isn't a number after the I, you just put the $sign at the beginning. Okay, put the $sign, and don't want the column or the row to change. Okay, don't want the column or the row to change. There we go. But I do want that C25 to change, so I'm gonna press enter, and now I can move it all down. Great. What we're going to do next is make it the color correspond with the needs color, because right now it just writes the letter, there's no color, kind of boring. We can kind of miss that. We just want to instantly see like, oh, it's a need, it's red, clocked it, right? So you go to conditional formatting. So your conditional formatting, and we want the color to change depending on the word that's in the cell. So the format rule we want to apply is text is exactly, right, needs. So when the when the text is exactly needs, I want the background to be that color, the fill color to be that color, and the text color to be this red. There we go, right? And then we can apply that to the rest of F29 when we press done. Okay, we're gonna add the same for the other words. So once, savings in, savings out. So add F25 to F29. If the text is exactly once, you want the fill color to be that light purple and the text color to be that dark purple. Okay, done. If from F25 to F29, text is exactly savings in, we want the background color to be this light blue, we want the text color to be this dark blue. Done. And yeah, I think that's mostly what we will be tracking. Great. So this mostly works for about everything in the budget tracker except savings, because remember we have those transfers when you put money in, money out. So I tend to name my savings accounts different things all the time, right? So I have like emergency savings, I have tax-free savings, I have different types of savings, right? So sometimes I take money out of one savings, put it into another. Sometimes I take money out of my savings, put it into my income so I can spend it on things. And I want to be able to track that, right? So when it comes to savings, right, you have to keep them in the same place, right? So the needs are first, and then I'm going to pay myself first before I start spending on my wants. So I want my savings information to go in the second column, my main savings things, which is emergency, because that's the one I transact out of the most, right? So my emergency, I mean, there's also my wish list savings as well. That would be the most, but that I have the emergency example here, not the wish list. Okay. So as you can see right now, it's saying my budget for the emergency for that month is $500, and I've spent $700, i.e., I've saved $700, right? But when we go to our transactions, we see that I've actually taken money out of my emergency savings, right? I took out $400. So it should say I have only saved $300. Okay. So how do we get it to do that? How do we get it to say that? So we would go here on spent, and we're going to remove this because it's not going to be empty, because it's always going to be our saving space. So you have a specific saving space, which is row 2 for me. Okay. So I want you to sum the amounts and transactions column I if the budget item in column H is C26, and if the transactions happen in January, and right, let's go back to transactions, the category, right, until G, all of it is money I have saved, so savings in. And I want you to subtract, right, and then we copy all of this, copy the money I take out. So now we change the savings in to savings out. So, and press enter, and there we go. We've saved 300, because even though we put in 700, we took out 400. So all we've really spent is 300. And we haven't moved down this formula for category. So let's make sure it starts at the same place. So dollar sign, 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 dollar sign. Okay. And then we copy that everywhere. All right. And we have an error because we didn't tell it what it should do when C 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 is empty. So now we have to fix that and say if C25 is not empty, I want you to filter all of that. But if it is empty, I want you to return that dash. There we go. And now we have to copy down the formula again. Yay! Savings in. Our savings in conditional formatting kind of looks the same. We just want to switch that color up a bit. So conditional formatting. Let's change the blue to just something a little more. Yeah, that's better. Visible. Okay. So this tracks the savings in. The amount I am actually savings, which is the amount I'm actually saving, which is all I care about. Great. So let's see if it works everywhere else. Let's do eating out. And let's do insurance. We haven't written anything for insurance. We haven't spent anything in insurance. So it returns nothing and blanks. Perfect. It works great. So you have to keep that emergency item in the same, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be like this. You have to track your savings in the same place. You have to track your savings in the same place. So this will be my saving space. So just to ensure I don't mess it up, I'm gonna just add a nice border. Let's make it's savings, so that blue would be nice. Let's make it this blue and put the border around. Border. Okay. So if I had other types of savings, so I could switch this to emergency, to wish list, to whatever type of savings I'm dealing with in that moment. But this formula is strictly for the savings transactions, and then everyone else is fine. It's the same. And yeah, let's see what we have done so far. So we fetched the budget amount, correct. We fetched the spent amount, correct. And we fetched the category, correct. And now we can move on to the next section, which is our need, wants, savings. And the first thing you want to do is set your goals. So how much of your income do you want to spend on needs? And that's where the name 50, 30, 20 comes, because you're supposed to do 50, 30, 20. 50 on needs, 30 on wants, 20 on savings, right? But it's your life, right? Life gets complicated. So let's say for me personally, I want to do 65, 15, and 10, right? And that's how I want it. I also do not like these decimal places, so we're just going to remove those. Okay. Yeah, that's my goal. Mine is 65, 15, 10. That's what I want to do. So it's up to you how you want to set it up. If you do want to aim for the 50, 30, 20, go ahead. But you do you. So to get that total that I want to spend, I'll just be like, the total of my income I want to spend equals some C there to E there. I say I want to spend 90% of my, so I want to spend 90% of my income, and that other 10% is just going to stay in there and rack up some interest. That's my goal personally. I don't want to ever see my account on zero, right? So that's pretty straightforward. That's just how you set the goals here. The reason why I put these goals here is because if I spend more than my goal, I want to have that notice of like, hey, you've kind of gone over what you said you were gonna do. You need to watch out. So that's why I put that goal here as a guide for me and for you. Okay, so we've done the goals, and now we need to find the percentage of our income spent on needs, wants, and savings, and those amounts. Okay, pretty straightforward. We start with the amount. So equals SUMIFS, right? We go to transactions. I want to sum the amounts, so that's column I, all of it. If we're doing January, so if this, all of it, is 1, and the category is G, all of it is needs, and I want that added. There we go. That's all you have to do there. Let's make sure that this is in currency. There we go. And that's about it. And to get the percentage of that, pretty simple formula, equals this amount, the amount we actually spent on our needs, divided by our income for that month, and that's 0.24, right? And we want to change that into a percentage. We just go on this format as percent. Great. We want to remove those decimal places. Well, I do. I just go decrease decimal places, 1, 2. There we go. Pretty straightforward. And we want these to stay the same when we copy the formula. So we're just going to put the dollar signs here and here. Okay. And then we're going to copy the formula for wants and savings. Okay. And then we're going to change this to wants and savings to savings in, right, for now, because we do know that we do have that savings out. But that's where this comes in handy, because we don't want to write a long formula again. So we will come back to this once we deal with the amount of savings we take out. All right. And then the total is just equals sum all of these. Great. And then with the formula, we want this to stay the same. I would just copy all of it throughout, but then it's going to change the colors of the borders, and I don't want to redo that. So we're just going to do the formula manually again. So equals, yep. And then equals, yeah. It gets me. We get each other. And that, make sure that it's percentage. Remove the decimal places if you want to. And then here we just say equals. Yeah, there we go. And that's how you do this section here, almost. So now we have to deal with the savings out, right? So the savings out formula is the same here, but with the savings in, but we just change it to savings out. So paste that and we say savings out. Format that as a currency. So now this becomes all the money we have savings in minus savings out. 300. You can also just copy this formula. Well, it's already copied. Copy the formula here. Remove the x's for savings in. Right? Format it as currency. And then you can just say for the savings, it's equal to savings in minus savings out. That works out to the same thing as well. So whatever floats your boat. Here we go. And that is this section. Have we done everything in the to-do list? We fetch total monthly spend, convert total monthly spend to percentage. Conditional formatting for spend is greater than goal. We haven't done that yet. Let's go back to our dashboard. So when this amount, this percentage is greater than this percentage, I want to get a warning. So the text has to be read. Let's just make these bigger because they're important. Well, these ones don't have to be as big. Keep it at 10. 10 is good. Okay, make them a bit grayer. Great. Okay. So I want to get a warning when my spending has gone above my goal. So in order to do that, it's just some conditional formatting. But first, let's make sure that we see that it does something. So let's change this to 15 because 15 is significantly less than 24%. So let's go to format, conditional formatting, because we're dealing with colors. We want the color to change if this is happening. So that's just conditional formatting. The formatting rules, right? I want the color of this to change if it is greater than equals C18, right? So if the value in C19, C20, because it's merged, if the value there is bigger than the value we've put in our goal cell, then I want the fill to be nothing, but I want the text to be red. Great. And done. So if I change that goal back to 60, you see, since it's 24, which is less than 60, it just remains black. Great. So I want to copy that throughout. Okay, make sure that it works. And so you go to conditional formatting. I want it to apply from C19 until F20. Yeah. And that should do it. Great. So as you can see, 6 is definitely greater than 5. 6 is definitely greater than 1. And 36 is less than 66. So we can put this back to 15. Great. Put this back to 10. Fantastic. It's working like a charm. So we can click that off of our to-do. Okay, and now we're moving up to the top section of our savings. We've already done the savings in, savings out. We've done the income. Now we just need to deal with the upcoming costs, the current balance, and the available balance. Okay. Very simple. Upcoming costs are the costs we know that we need to pay. So these monthly fixed costs right here. So we just say equals sum, this the amount. Yeah. And those are upcoming costs, right? But I want it to change, right? When I do pay for something and I register that I paid for it, I want this to go down when I pay for things. So if I've checked everything, it should say 0. If nothing's checked, it should just add everything up, etc, etc. So to do that, we have to give a condition. So SUMIF, we're going to do just one condition because the only condition that matters is that this is false. So SUMIF column F33 to F100, they have to be the same size where you're starting, is false. I want you to sum the things in D33 to D100 and you press enter. So I'll show you format that. So now when we check on something, it's not added. Check on that, 0. Uncheck it, back, uncheck, there it is. So as you can see, when you're dealing with SUMIF, it's different from SUMIFs in the sense that with SUMIF, you have to start with the condition you want met and then the amount you're adding. But SUMIFs, you start with the amount you're adding and then the conditions you want met. Yeah. Current balance. So our current balance is basically our income minus the money we've spent. So pretty straightforward. Equals our income minus the money we've spent, which is here under our total. And that is our current balance. Pretty straightforward. Available balance now equals our current balance minus the things we still have to pay for, which is our upcoming costs. Enter. And that's the amount we actually have available to spend. So the available balance will change. Let me make this a bit smaller so we can see everything changing in one go. So if I click this, you can see my available balance has gone up because I paid for stuff and my upcoming costs have decreased. Okay, great. Let's keep it like that for now. Well, we've spent rent, so I guess we do have to take that off as paid. Great. And that should be everything for dashboard. Some upcoming costs, some savings in, some savings out, calculate current balance, calculate available balance, and now we can duplicate for the other months. But we do have to do a little, few tweaks here and there for the other months. Okay. So first we make sure that what we don't want change doesn't change. So that's fine. The transaction stuff, mostly when we're referencing another sheet, we don't want that stuff changed. Okay, let's make sure the transaction, the income needs to be set. So those dollar signs, dollar. Great. Right, let's check. That's not transactions. Okay, everything has dollar. Okay, that's gonna change once we duplicate, so that's fine. Referencing another sheet, so that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, okay. So now we can start duplicating. So we've done January. So let's duplicate and create February. So I want to select column B until column F, and then I want to command C for copy, and then I want it to start from G, so command V for paste. There we go. That is everything, right? But we need to change this to February, and now we have to make some changes. Specifically, this has to equal 2 because February is 2. It's not 1 anymore. So I have to change all the ones in the E transaction place to twos. That's fine. Change it to twos. Okay. And the ones. And the savings. No, we don't need to do that because we've done that. And that's fine. That's just filter. Spent. Okay. Change that to 2. And our savings also thing has to change to 2. And don't forget it's savings in minus savings out. So change that to 2. And this also needs to change to 2. That has to change to 2. That has to change to 2. Great. And this is just filter, so there's no need for that. Yeah. The other thing we have to change, let's make this smaller and make the whole page bigger. Okay. The other thing we have to change is our current balance. So right now it's saying our current balance is 0, which isn't true because we had money left over from January. So then we have to say, yeah, income minus what I've spent, sure, plus whatever I had left over from the previous month, right? So there we go. And yeah, everything else updates. And now we can see that, yep, that makes sense. And you also have to uncheck everything that you haven't paid for as well. And now when you duplicate, you don't have to change that current balance thing anymore. It will automatically be accounted for in the rest of them. But you do have to change the 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 just to match the different months. Okay, so let's do merge together. So copy column G through K, Command C, go to L, Command V, and now we change this to March. Great. And then we go everywhere where there's a SUMIFS that includes the month calculation. So that's savings in, savings out, income, needs, wants, and savings. Doesn't need that. And then in spent as well, change that to 3. And with our savings, change it to 3. Change that E column to 3. As well as the rest of the spent. Change to 3. Change to 3. Okay. You can make the budget tracker bigger if you want to. It is up to you. And yeah, that's all that needs changing. So you do that each time you duplicate. But you no longer need to change that current balance place because as you can see, it says your income minus your spent plus whatever you had available in the previous month. Don't you just love spreadsheets? And yeah, that should be everything. So now we want to add the links. So you can see this area here on the left with all the months written out as your navigation. So we want to go to a specific month. You can just click on it and it will take you there. So in order to make that navigation work, we're going to click on the cell that says January. Double click on it or right click on it, and we're gonna insert link, right? And the link we want to insert is the cells we want to be led to, which in this case is the same sheet, right? But C1 to F1 because that's the span of January. And we click on it, and yeah, when we click on it, you can see that this is the cells that are highlighted. So we will just be taken there. And then you do that with each month, depending where they're at. So once more with February, let's do March because that's a bit further. March, insert link. Same place, M1 to P1. Okay, click on it. And there we go. So when I want to go to March, I just do that. And as you can see, these are the ones that I highlighted. If I want to go to January, I just click that, and these are the ones that I highlighted, and it will take you there. So let's just go to where something is completed, and let's go to October. There, takes us all the way to October. Go here, takes us all the way back to January. Great. So that's how that will work once you finish filling that in. Fantastic. Let's go to do. Make sure everything is checked, and we are done with step 2, which is setting up our dashboard.